The idea is if you have a French horn, the vibrational patterns of air is dictated by the shape of the instrument, of course. Similarly, if you replace the horn by one of these extra-dimensional spaces, a calabi shape, if you imagine strings vibrating, strings are so small that they don't just vibrate in the 3 dimensions that we know about, they also vibrate into the extra dimensions. They live partly in the extra dimensions. So just like the shape of the instrument affects how air vibrates, the shape of the extra dimensions affects how strings vibrate. So when strings vibrate in one pattern or another, they will look like an electron, or they'll look like a quark, or they'll look like a muon, or they'll look like a photon. So the extra dimensional shape dictates the possible vibrational patterns, the possible notes, if you will, that the strings can play. And if the possible set of notes that strings can play, the possible vibrations, agrees with the collection of particles that we've seen in the world around us, that would be showing the shadow. The particle properties that we see would be the shadows. The true underlying physics would be strings vibrating in these extra dimensions. And the wonderful thing is that Shaman showed that there are 3 families. You got electrons, muons, and taus. You got the up quark, you've got the top quark, you got the strange quark. So they all seem to occur in these 3 patterns. In string theory, that number 3 might reflect that strings, if the extra dimensional shape had something called an Euler number, the number of holes that it has. So just to use general language, if the number of holes that the extra dimensions has, if that number is 3, if it has 3 holes, then there would be those 3 families. There'd be 3 shadows. So that is a possible explanation for what we see coming from this more unified setting of extra dimensions.
So describing this sort of interactivity, if you're going back to the French horn model, by simply looking at what's coming out of the bell,
yes,
you're going to get one small picture, but you have to understand that there is music and interaction that is directly corresponding to the piece that you're hearing in the concert hall taking place at every point in the French horn itself.
Yes, that's right.